Hello, this is biology, and today we are still on the classification of living things, but we're going to talk about the 5 kingdoms of living things. Now let's do a quick summary or quick recap of what we did last time. Now we learned that Mrs. GREN is the woman who determines if an organism is living or not. Mrs. GREN obviously is not human, but it is an acronym that we use to remember, that we can use to remember the characteristics of living things. M stands for movement, R respiration, S sensitivity, G growth, R reproduction, E excretion, and N for nutrition. An organism should be able to perform all these functions before it can be considered living. Remember, a car can move, but can a car eat? Can a car respire? Can a car reproduce? No. Okay. We also learned that breathing is not respiration. Respiration takes place in cells. We breathe in the gases go into the cells, and that is where respiration takes place. So we can say breathing is part of respiration. Breathing helps get the gases inside and then outside. And the fourth point is feces or defecation is not an example of excretion. Now, excretion is where we get rid of metabolic waste. Metabolism is just activities taking place in the cells. Okay, so after these activities have been completed, like respiration, waste products are produced, and the body will need to get rid of them. Also, there are certain things that are in excess in the body. For example, when we take in more water, we pass more urine. Okay. Now let's go on to what we have for today. Based on certain characteristics, all living things on Earth were divided into 5 kingdoms or 5 large groups, and this was done by our scientist Carolus Linnaeus, our Greek scientist, our Swedish botanist, Carolus Linnaeus. He divided all organisms into 5 large groups, and these are bacteria, prototists, fungi, plants, and then animals. Now here's our bacteria, prototists, fungi, we have our plants here, and then we have this nice looking animal here. So these are our 5 kingdoms of organisms. We can easily remember them using this mnemonic here. Bees prefer finding Pooh Bear alive. Bees prefer finding Pooh Bear alive. You can pause the video here and try repeating this so that it sticks. Bees prefer finding Pooh Bear alive. Now B stands for bacteria. B here, and then we have our B here. P, prefer, prototists prefer. Fungi, F, finding. Plants, Pooh Bear, plants, Pooh Bear. Animals, alive. Bees prefer finding Pooh Bear alive. So these are 5 main kingdoms. Now we are going to see what determines where an organism should be later on in this lesson. So please pause the video here and try repeating this. Once you get it, you move on. Okay, let's continue. Some of the characteristics he considered were, before an organism could be a living thing, we know it must have to be able to complete those 7 characteristics we showed in our last lesson. But today, before an organism can fit into a specific kingdom, there were certain things, there were certain parameters, or there were certain things he considered. One is how many cells make up the body of the living organism. Now, certain organisms have their whole body made up of only one cell, and they are said to be unicellular. Uni means one. Cellular obviously is referring to cells. So unicellular organisms have their whole bodies made up of one cell. Secondly, we have multicellular organisms. Multi means more than one. So multicellular, more than one cell. Their whole bodies are made up of more than one cell. So for humans, you can see our bodies are made up of millions of cells. We have blood cells, we have muscle cells. So our bodies are made up of more than one cell. Now, number 2, if the cells were simple or had complex parts. Now, certain cells only have the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, and then everything is scattered in the cell. So the cell membrane and the cytoplasm are the 2 main distinct features we are going to see, and then everything else is scattered in the cell. Those such cells are called prokaryotic cells. So these cells have no nucleus or membrane-bound organelles. Organelles are the structures in the cells that act as organs, okay, in the cells. Now, for the other type of cells, you see, we can see a distinct nucleus here. We have our chloroplasts, and then we have other structures inside the cell. Now, these are cells that are eukaryotic, or these are eukaryotic cells, okay. They have a distinct nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. So the first thing he looked at was how many cells there are. The second thing is, are the cells complex or are they very simple? Okay, the third thing was if the organism could make its own food or had to eat others to survive. Plants make their own food, animals eat other plants and other animals to survive. Okay, so I have this short activity here. Please drag and drop. If it is the right answer, it will fit. If it is the wrong answer, it will return. So bacteria are MC, eukaryotic. So obviously my first answer is wrong. So please get it all right and then continue with the video. So pause the video here and then solve this before you continue. Okay, welcome back. Now let's move into the 5 main kingdoms and see what exactly an organism should have before it is placed in one of these kingdoms. So the first one is bacteria, bees, bacteria. Now they are unicellular organisms with no nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. So bacteria, all bacteria are unicellular. They are all prokaryotes. Okay, all bacteria are unicellular. They are all prokaryotes. Bacteria are the only prokaryotes around. Okay, they are the ones that have cells that do not have organelles or a nucleus. Okay, good. Now the second one is prototists. They are also mostly unicellular, but what distinguishes prototists from bacteria is that they have membrane-bound organelles. So clearly you can see the nucleus here, and then you can see the nucleus being bound by a membrane. Okay, this is an example. This is a picture of a paramecium, and then here, that is the nucleus. Okay, and then it is bound by a membrane. So although it is unicellular like the bacteria, this one is eukaryotic. It has a nucleus. So prototists are mostly unicellular, with a few being multicellular. They have cells and membrane. They have nucleus, and membrane-bound organelles. Examples are amoeba and the paramecium. Okay. Now let's go on to fungi. Now we see mushrooms around. Sometimes we try to argue, are they plants, are they animals? They are neither of them. Okay. Now we're going to see reasons why fungi are not considered plants, or they do not belong to the animal kingdom. Okay. Now these organisms are neither plants. They are not plants because they cannot make their own food. Although we've jumped ahead because that should have been talked about in plants. But fungi are not plants because they cannot make their own food. Okay. They are not animals because they have a cell wall. Animal cells have no cell wall. Plants have chloroplasts that contain chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So they lack these things. So they are in a kingdom of their own. They are also saprophytic feeders. They are saprophytic. They digest food outside. They normally feed on dead organisms. They digest food outside, and then they absorb the nutrients into their body. Examples are yeasts, mushrooms, and then molds. Now for the plant kingdom, they are multicellular autotrophs. They are multicellular autotrophs. When we say auto, means self. Autotrophic, they are self-feeding. They prepare their own food. Now they have green pigments called the chlorophyll that trap sunlight, and they use that in making their own food. Okay, so plants are the only kingdom that can make their own food. Their cells have cellulose cell walls, or their cell walls contain cellulose that for support, and they also have chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Examples of plants are ferns and then flowering plants. Remember, plants can also move. Their branches move towards light, their roots move away or towards water. And lastly, the last kingdom we're going to talk about is the animal kingdom. Animals are multicellular organisms whose cells have neither cell walls nor chlorophyll. So animal cells do not have cell walls. That is why fungi are not animals. Okay, animals do not have chlorophyll. That is why they have to depend on others for food. Okay, so that explains heterotrophic feeders. Examples of animals are the jellyfish, birds, worms. We have our cat here. We have our goldfish here. These are all examples of animals. Okay, so this is a short exercise. Please get your pen and paper. Do this exercise for me. So explain the following terms: prokaryote, eukaryote, a multicellular organism, a unicellular organism. And then state one characteristic feature, one feature that is unique to a certain kingdom. One feature that is unique to each of the kingdoms. Please pause the video here. Do this exercise and then continue once you are done with the exercise. Okay, this is a summary of what we did today. We got to know that organisms are grouped into 5 kingdoms based on characteristics that they share. The 5 kingdoms are bacteria, prototists, fungi, plants, and animals. Bees prefer finding pooh bear alive. Bacteria are unicellular and have no membrane-bound organelles. Fungi are multicellular organisms that are neither plants nor animals. Plants are multicellular organisms with cell wall for support and chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Animals are heterotrophic or multicellular organisms with no cell wall and chlorophyll. And then remember, for prototists, most of them are unicellular, but they have nucleus. So they are unicellular and then eukaryotic, unlike bacteria that are unicellular and prokaryotic. Okay, so that will be it for today. Have a nice day. Bye.